when a beautiful scenic mountain pass in Norway collapses. An 80-meter tidal wave descends upon them. There is no easy way to survive the calamity, and everybody has to fight for their existence. January 15, 1905, Norway. A real-life disaster is witnessed when a rock slide occurred near Lodalen in Nordfjord takes place when the town was asleep. Since they are asleep and unknown about the tsunami, 63 people are eliminated. The wave was 40 meters high when it hit the land, and a similar accident was witnessed years later which had a casualty of 40 people. Over 300 registered unstable mountainsides have been witnessed by Norway. Geiranger is a Norwegian-based town. They are threatened by the same problem. It is located near Akernes, an unstable mountain that is threatened to send 7 million cubic meters of rock down. These rocks will crash into the water, leading to a massive tsunami wave. Christian Eichjord is a geologist. He is driving his car and eventually enters a large ferry boat that will take him to Geiranger. He arrives home where he greets his wife and children. His wife Iden is struggling with a leaky pipe that she wishes to fix, but has had no success so far and asks for a plumber's wrench. Christian hands her the wrong one, and their teenage son, Sander, comes to his rescue and hands over the right one. The couple also has an 8-year-old daughter named Julia. At dinner, Christian hypes up their new apartment, which also includes locking and unlocking the door using a mobile app. After dinner, Iden works in the kitchen. Christian asks whether he should get rid of some of his old shorts. Iden curiously asks why, and Christian says he now has a new life and a new home, but quickly adds that he will forget moving and they will stay in town. Iden rejects him immediately, saying they should stick to their plan. She then playfully says that her husband should get a new suit and should wear them along with a new haircut to make him look presentable. The couple has a romantic moment which is soon blocked by their son Sander, who becomes disgusted. Iden and Christian erupt into laughter. Christian heads to work the next day, which is also one of his last days of work at the Early Warning Center. The Early Warning Center is 102.1 meters above sea level. He enters the control room to know about the numbers. The tech says they are within acceptable parameters. Christian nods and leaves. He had cake with his co-worker, who wanted to congratulate him and bid him goodbye. Christian now has a new job in the oil industry. He previously worked in Geiranger before moving to Stavanger with his family. After it, he begins to clean out his office. While doing so, he hears beeping from the control room. For a second, he ignores it, but when the beeping continues, he decides to go investigate. On reaching there, he sees his team looking at the numbers that have spiked dramatically in the past hours. Even though everything on the camera footage looks stable, the groundwater levels have shrunk several feet. Christian starts to map out the worst-case scenario. He is snapped out of his trance by a coworker. The coworker assures Christian that everything is okay and that he can resume packing. After doing so, he returns home. At home, he is looking at the numbers and is concerned. Meanwhile, his wife and daughter pack up the house. Julia is happy as she successfully managed to get all her stuffed toys in one box. If some of the boxes are ready, Sander would take them out with Iden, saying Christian will help. While talking to Iden, Christian says he feels something happened with the groundwater levels during the day. Iden brushes it off, stating his job is done, adding that the mountains will remain for 1,000 years. To direct his thoughts, Iden asks Christian to help them with the packing so that the moving truck can be ready the next morning. Christian goes out to throw some old papers where he sees Sander listening to music sadly. He walks up to his son to ask about the issue. Sander says he doesn't wish to leave as he likes his home for its beauty and safety. Christian comforts him, confessing that he and Iden had to make some tough decisions for the family. Sander wonders whether they would move again from Stavanger after a few years. Before Christian answers, Sander walks away sadly, with Christian sitting and pondering about how times have changed and affected his children. After finishing their packing, the family is greeted by their neighbors. They start talking about the move. Iden mentions that Christian along with the kids will be going ahead while she will stay back as she has work to do. Christian looks at the mountains as if he just cannot shake the negative feeling. Christian and the kids drive to the ferry meeting point where he looks at the mountains again. Turning back, he sees Sander playing Jenga on his phone with the pieces toppling down. He again looks at the nearby rocks where he notices water dripping through them. Cars honk behind as it is time to dock the cars inside the boat. Julia asks her father to enter the dock, but he turns it around and goes back to his office. As soon as he enters, he tells his colleagues to follow them as he wishes to show them something. On the other hand, Iden is on her bike. She works at Hotel Geiranger, which is only 1.7 meters above sea level. Entering, she greets her friend and co-worker Vibeke, who chides her for being late. While working, Vibeke learns that Iden's family is already on the ferry. Christian says he believes that the sensors may have been severed due to the shifting of the rock layers, and if it is true, the rocks could eventually collapse with water inside. If that happens, it is impossible to give a warning to the town. The team is skeptical, and so they immediately head out via the chopper to investigate the situation. While traveling through a narrow area, he and Jacob find the sensor wires have been snapped due to the movements of the mountain. It is believed that an 80-meter wave will destroy the entire town in 10 minutes. Christian's former boss Arvid agrees to enter a higher state of alert but not evacuation, as it is the mid-tourist season for the town. Christian returns to his car where he had left his children. He finds a note saying they were tired of eating and called their mother. Christian arrives at the hotel while cursing himself, knowing Iden would not be pleased. He finds his kids glaring at him. Iden silently yells at him, saying he cannot leave the kids alone and work where he is technically not an employee anymore. Christian apologizes. Iden sighs and tells him that they will try to leave the town the next day. Since Julia wished to sleep at her house for the night, she and Christian return home, while Aiden and Sonder decide to spend the night in the hotel room. At home, Christian finds an old mattress for Julia to sleep on while he takes the chair. After tucking her in, he heads to the kitchen and has a drink. He returns to the chair and watches his daughter sleep. After showing Sonder the room, Aiden receives a text from Christian apologizing for his actions. She smiles but soon turns worried as she thinks about her husband's fear. She immediately pulls out a folder with the evacuation plan in it and looks through the plan to find a particular route in the hotel for events like tsunami wave. At the base, the computer starts to beep. The person in charge notices the numbers and panicking wakes Margaret up. At the Eagle's Nest, Arvid is awoken by the radio. Margaret and Jord tell him about the readings. Arvid decides that he and Jacob check the instrument readings and find them accurate. Christian watches a large bird migrating in the sky. He soon realizes something is wrong and quickly reviews old documents that suggest readings of contractions in the mountains that indicate an upcoming avalanche. He calls the station and asks them to evacuate the place immediately and to blare the sound of tsunami alarms for the residents of the town. Moments later, an avalanche follows. A large stone catches Jacob's leg and traps him. As Arvid goes to free him, the crevice begins to crush. Aiden goes out when she hears the alarm go off. Arvid, on the other hand, calmly clips his line to Jacob as he knew the line would not hold them both. He sacrifices himself by linking Jacob to the zip line. The rock slides begin to hit the water and cause a massive wave to form. A gigantic tsunami is created after the rock slide crashes into the floor. The tsunami begins to head toward Geranger. The timer at the base begins. Christian hugs Julia tight. He then puts a 10-minute countdown on his watch and the duo race out of the house and gets into their car. They drive off. Christian tries to call Aiden but she does not pick up. Meanwhile, Aiden and her colleague Vibe start to evacuate the hotel guests by knocking on their doors. She then evacuates them onto a bus as the tsunami is 10 minutes away from Geranger. Christian calls her and informs her that he is heading their way. Aiden refuses, saying she cares about her daughter's safety. Realizing he does not have any other option, Christian makes the turn that takes him up the mountain road to higher ground. After directing everyone to the bus, Aiden tries to find Sonder but he is nowhere to be found. Aiden refuses to leave without her son. She checks the room Sonder stayed in only to find it empty. Maria and Philip Paulsen, a Danish couple, help her to search for Sonder. While Maria readily agrees to help, Philip is a little reluctant but follows his wife. Christian and Julia, on the other hand, are stuck in traffic. They realize that the altitude is dangerously low and that they only have 4.5 minutes before the waves hit. He abandons the car to run uphill on foot along with Julie. While doing so, they shout for others to do so too. Their neighbor Anna's leg gets trapped by a car. After seeing that the wave is not far, Christian sends Julia up the mountain with Anna's husband Thomas and daughter Teresa and sits Anna down inside a van. The tsunami soon engulfs the vehicle. Christian survives but finds Anna, who is impaled by debris, dead beside him. Inside the hotel, Aiden and the couple continue to call out for Sonder. Maria hears a noise from the basement and finds the door open. There, Aiden successfully finds Sonder but it is too late to escape the tsunami. The tsunami hits as they rush downstairs to the basement's bomb shelter. Maria, the Danish tourist, is washed away as Aiden and Sonder forcefully shut the shelter door with Philip grieving for his wife's death. Back on the hill, Christian reunites with Julia, Thomas, and Teresa but again leaves them to head back to Geranger in search of his wife and son. Thomas is heartbroken when he learns about his wife. Back at the base, the radio cackles to life. It is Jacob and Margaret asks if he is okay. He breaks down into tears. Margaret, too, cries when she learns about Arvid. The town is devastated. The evacuation bus that was sent from the hotel is destroyed with every passenger dead inside. Vibe is no more too but not Aiden and Sonder. Inside the bomb shelter, the water level rises. The door is blocked by heavy debris. Philip, who panics to breathe, pushes Sonder underwater. While saving her son, Aiden drowns Philip. On entering one of the hotel rooms, Christian finds his son's backpack. He then furiously bangs on some pipes. Aiden and Sonder respond. Christian follows the voice. Inside the shelter, the waters begin to fill the vent, which means that Aiden and Sonder have very little time. Christian dives underwater and sees debris. He goes to move it out of the way. While he removes the debris from outside, Aiden opens the door and reunites with her husband. They embrace each other. Christian asks her to move to the safety area while he gets their son. Aiden agrees and escapes the water and backs up the staircase. Christian enters the vent and finds Sonder. He hugs his son and tells him that they have to swim. Sonder is unsure, especially after what happened to Philip. Christian calms him down and tells him that they have no choice, adding that the whole family needs him. After convincing Sonder, they start to swim, with Christian leading them. Sonder panics in between, especially after seeing Philip's body, but soon reaches the staircase. Christian, on the other hand, panics when the water shifts. He soon runs out of air and begins to drown. Sonder meets his mother and tells her that Christian is still underwater. Aiden goes back inside, grabs her husband, and pulls him out. She quickly begins CPR and becomes more frantic when she realizes it has no effect. She stops after a few minutes, thinking her husband is no more. However, Sonder refuses to believe it and continues to scream at his father to wake up. Christian then spits up water and embraces his family. On the hill, Julia and Tessa are playing to distract Teresa's mind. A helicopter arrives with the survivors. When Julia does not find her family, she is upset. As the helicopter leaves, Christian along with Aiden and Sonder are walking up the hills. Julia happily rakes to her mother. The family is reunited and they walk toward the group of survivors and are grateful to be alive. The crevice continues to expand by 15 centimeters annually. Experts agree with the fact that there will be a rockslide but fail to predict when.